I want to talk to you today about how we can find meaning and fulfillment, but also it's geared around this let's finish strong mentality. But I had a moment to think about this. And the last like 5 or 6 days, I do this when I prepare for you guys. I sit back and I think about like, what do I want my heart to say? I don't think about how to teach. I'm like, what I want my heart to say, what I want to kind of have transmute into your world. And I sat with this thought and I said, if we're going to talk about meaning and fulfillment, I would like to start with first, like, well, why do we not have it sometimes? What might rob us of it? Here's what I want to talk about that I think there's like 3 things that I've found that are basic, but I think rob us of this experience. And one to begin with is false anchors. Now, I talk about identity, and I believe we have identity anchors, things that anchor us to who we are, how we show up, what we do. And I believe that sometimes we rob ourselves of great meaning because we have the wrong or false anchors, which comes from us looking at this world and going, look, man, I didn't achieve what she achieved. I didn't get done what he got done. And I'm not where they're at. And I expected to be so much farther along. And so I have this anchor that's tied to this one thing. But because I don't have that thing, I don't feel like I have meaning. I don't feel like I'm fulfilled because I don't feel like the work I did panned out, we'll call it. And I think it's because we're sometimes placing our energy and our anchor in the wrong anchors. Here's an example. There are areas of our life where like we go into something thinking we must do it the way so-and-so did it. If we do it the way they did, I'll get the return. I found this out early on that it doesn't work that way. So when I first started this industry in this world, I want to come speak and share and pour my heart out. And I found other people that were doing things. I was like, man, I'm enamored by this. I love this. I'm going to do what they do. And so what happened is I would do a bunch of like adjustments to who Anthony was to fit the box of the rough and rugged former NFL guy, like, that kind of guy. And then I see BRENDON, he's like happy, and I'm right. And just these things I would try to do them and they wouldn't fit. Now they fit for those people because they are those people, but my anchor at the time was tied to doing things the way they did them. And because of this false anchor, I had a poor perspective of self. I felt like the work I was doing wasn't meaningful. I felt like I wasn't fulfilled because I wasn't getting the return. And it took me a moment to sit back and go, look, I can't be them, but I could do me real good. How do I figure out how to do me? And that was one of the things that was a really big piece for me to uncover that I'm teaching you right now is you have to take a look at your life and say, let me look and see what doesn't seem to fit. What feels like a shoe on the wrong foot? What is not really settling in the right way? And this is something where you have to do the deep work on your own and sit there and go, what have I been trying that I might have to pull the ego back and go, I shouldn't have been doing that. I shouldn't have spent time there. It's not my thing. And when you give yourself this grace and this permission to not be perfect, you find this kind of like this ease, like this, I feel a little bit lighter. And that lightness helps you progress to the next stage. Now, number 2, I think we have sometimes poor perspectives on things. This again ties to the area of us having this, I think, comparison issue. So there are perspectives that we will sometimes lead in with. And what we're doing is looking back at this year. We're looking back at the year going, what did I accomplish? What did I get done? Some things I'm sure were amazing. Some things not so great. Myself, I have these things also. I'm human. But the idea is when I sit back and I go, where did I not go? What did I not accomplish? What did I not achieve? I don't give it the perspective of I'm not good enough. And here's a reason why you have to. And it's logic, but we don't live in this logical space sometimes. What I found is we sometimes, again, have a perspective of where we should be based on things that we might know over somebody else, or we might have experience over somebody else, or I've earned this because I put the work in this area. But there is so much that you never see. There's so many things that are going on around somebody else's life and their experience that you may not know, a mentor they might have that they don't tell anybody about, an experience they had that gives them some knowledge in an area that nobody else knows about. And so what we're doing is giving a poor perspective on an outcome based on a comparison to somebody else. So again, this takes us and robs us of this fulfillment, this meaning of the energy we are putting forth towards something simply because we have given something a poor perspective. And the third one, this is going to be one to poke, and honestly, it's going to be one to measure against the people in your life. I have a lot of humans in my life. I love my humans. Brent's one of my humans. I have amazing family that are my humans. I have great friends. Like I have these amazing people. However, every year I seem to find that I start a new year with less friends. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this in any way, but there's a reason why this happens. At the end of the year, I don't know if you guys do this, but we get prepared if you have a business for like financials and taxes. And I take a look and go, what expenditures did I make that I didn't need to make? I'm looking at the financial aspect. And then I take a look at my life and go, where was I giving more energy? Where were there more withdrawals than deposits into my life? And I'm talking about actual people. Where are people in your life showing up and withdrawing more than they're depositing. Because what happens is if we feel that drain, that pull from us, and we don't get filled back up, we start feeling less than because this person doesn't respect us. And then what happens is that energy, we live from it. And so I found that for me, there are times when I step back and I go, yeah, this person withdrew a lot from my life and they didn't deposit very much. And while I love them, I'm going to do that love from a distance this year. And it's a decision you actually have to make, because doing this gives you a little bit of a pride for self. You feel better and you give yourself an opportunity to get more fulfilled, because this transaction you're making when you're here in this box and someone's withdrawing and depositing, you are diminishing your ability to be in another area of relationship that's depositing and withdrawing at an equal level. So this area is blocking this one. So it allows you to have the space to get more of those deposits into your life in an amazing area. So that's what I found, some of the reasons that we get robbed. And then I now want to talk about the areas that we get our meaning and fulfillment. And we're all different. This is the good thing about life. We are all different. There's beauty in the difference. That's why, like on Thanksgiving, I don't stack my plate with just turkey. I have turkey and I have the mashed potatoes and I have gravy and I have the stuffing. I don't do cranberry sauce. It's just weird. I don't do that. But I do sweet potatoes. Oh, I love sweet potatoes. But there's a plethora of different colors and mixtures. And so that difference is amazing. And so when I look at these things, I go, well, if I'm looking at meaning, where am I getting my meaning from? Where am I having these differences tie into my life in a great way? And I believe that sometimes we tie our meaning and fulfillment to the wrong areas. And I think we have to look at is, you have to, in a certain space of looking at this stage of getting to your meaning, is where are you having the right people and achievements tied to your personal meaning? Now, people and achievements are big. I think that people are the things that make life amazing, and achievements are great because you get to share them with the people that make life amazing. And I know you have goals and aspirations, why you're here, growing yourself to reach that next level, to access whatever tier is meant for you past this point here. But the idea is, I want you to think about is, where are you actually garnering and getting your meaning and your fulfillment, in a sense of, what is the thing giving you feedback that makes you go, yes, I did it right, I feel great. Now, while I talked about removing other people, right? We talked about having someone in your life that's withdrawing. Where do I put people in? How do I find the right people that give me a sense of fulfillment and meaning? And if it's not about getting new people, it's about taking a look at the people already in your life and saying, how do I make a better relationship here? But how do you reconnect and rekindle a love that maybe is kind of there, but it's not sparked on fire? How do you find better communities to be part of, like GrowthDay, and really invest in the community and energy and engagement, sharing with other people in the world you know, to bolster the human connections you have, right? How do we actually find that meaning? Because for me, my meaning, my fulfillment comes from my family and the people I choose to call family. This morning I got up and I got about an hour before my wife and I was doing work, and then she came down and her back's been bugging her. She runs track. And so I spent about 30 minutes before getting dressed to come hang out with you guys, doing like a whole ultrasound on her back and sticking little sticky pads on. Like, I find fulfillment in doing that for my relationship. I find meaning in my wife's life for doing this. You see what I'm saying? The people you pour in. Now, the other part of it is achievements. When we do something and we have this outcome on the back end of our actions, we will find a meaning from the achievement or lack thereof. So if I put effort and energy into something, I get that outcome. I go, oh, look at me. I won a game. I won a Super Bowl. I got that client. I built the business. Right? But for some reason, I put the energy and effort in and I don't have that. What I do is I go, oh man, this means I'm not that great. This means maybe I'm not that. And here's what I want to give as a thought. And I love this. Someone shared with me years ago. And here's a thought that has garnered so much freedom for me. No moment has any meaning except the meaning we place upon it. Repeat this because this one's helped me immensely. No moment has any meaning except the meaning we place upon it. So what I have found is when I place the meaning of may help my wife, that meaning is like, I show up. I mean a lot to her life. But if something goes off and goes wrong, like yesterday, nobody knows this. I had 4 disturbingly unsettling situations pop up and I'm still dealing with them. But I gave it a different meaning. I said, you know what? These are Cadillac problems. I get to enjoy life still. Like, I get to come hang out with you. It can't be all that bad. I don't let that trickle in and give it a different meaning that tears me down. So when you look at the achievements you have and something doesn't go right, don't give it the meaning that drags your soul out. Give it the meaning of, you know what? It's strengthening me. It's teaching me something as a lesson I need to have that's going to propel me to the next stage or give me an asset of a skill set to apply at this next level thing that I don't even know is coming just yet. So providing a different meaning is very, very big when it comes to this. Hey, everybody. Good day. I'm excited about today's topic because I think there is something to this that we don't always have the opportunity to explore. So I get to let you in a little bit on Anthony and how I flow. So let's get into this today. So first thing I want to talk about is there are moments in time when everything seems to be hitting us difficult and we get what I call as this kind of spun up feeling. Like that feeling of like anxiety and anxiousness and pressure, and there's a lot to get done, not enough time to get it done, and I feel like I'm all crazy. There is no calm. They say zero chill is what my son says. You got zero chill today, bro. I got chill, Dad. Today's the day I got some things done. So there's this idea of like zero chill, and I think that there are people that I sometimes hang out with that I'll say this, and it's funny. Me and BRENDON actually we had mentioned at a conversation about this in Wyoming of all places years ago, and I was driving and I said something along the lines of, "It's hard to be around people who aren't settled inside." Repeat this. It is hard to be around human beings who are not settled because there's no peace. Like I can sit there and they're always chatting and they're talking and they're moving and there's a vibration I feel. I'm like, man, you're unsettling me. And the thing is, we typically don't even notice that it's happening. We just feel anxious around that person. We say, I don't like that person. No, you may not like that they're kind of unsettled. They might be a great human, but they're a little bit unsettled. And what happens is, here's a unique thing. They are unaware that they're unsettled inside too. They're just talking and chatting and doing that. And it's like, oh, weird energy, right? Sometimes I'll tell you, this is us. And I think when we don't realize that, we wonder, why is it hard to build the business, to make the sales, to fix the relationship, to be a present father, to be a good son or be a good brother or sister? It's difficult because it's like we are creating this vibration of energy around us that is not the most positive, simply because we aren't settled inside. We aren't calm. We don't do things with a calm, I call it calm power, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then what ends up happening is we can't be productive because we're never online, we're never on track. And if we fall off, we stay off, and it just kind of sucks, right? So how do we get to this point of having this space of being calm and striving and productive? And I'm gonna cover all those things today. So I want to take you back to the years whenever I was in a space of playing for the Washington Redskins, now the Washington football team. Back in the day when I was a young man with less gray hairs and my knees didn't pop when I stood up for some sitting too long, because those things, they pop, man. Those knees, they start hurting after a while. So what I found was I met this guy named Eddie. And Eddie did a lot of training. Like he was a guy who trained a lot of athletes. He had played linebacker for the Redskins before me. And we got to talking and conversating, and he really liked me. He goes, man, I really like you. I go, what is it that you like? Because I'd worked out. I'd only one time worked out with him. And he goes, there's a sense of like this power you carry about yourself. And he says, it's like a calm power. I was like, expand upon this, because I don't know what you're talking about, a calm power. He's like, there's a sense of like, you know who you are. You like what you do because it's apparent, and it's like you do it without needing people to give you praise or lift you up all the time. Like you do it, and it's powerful. It's like it draws human beings in. I think about when you walk into a room and you see someone who carries themselves that calm power. We're drawn to them. There's a sense of like, I want to be in their conversation. I want to hover around their little corner. I want to be in their vicinity because what they give off, I like, right? And there's a sense of calm power. And I was like, well, have you noticed it anybody else? He's like, yeah, I've seen some people. I was like, well, what do you think it is? What's the unique maybe parts of it? He says, well, when I see you show up in the actions you take, you don't take them in a sense of taking them and then turn around going, was it good enough? Was it good enough? Was it good enough? He's like, you take it, but you're powerful in knowing that you took it, and it's good because you did it, right? He says also, and this is mostly in the weight room and getting to know him a little bit later. He says also, whenever I see you show up, he said, you come in joy. It's hard to be in joy if you aren't calm and centered inside. Like it's hard to be in a space of, and if it's joy, it's like an anxious joy. Like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited. You know, it's like, it's not that like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm joyful. How you doing today? Like, you want to go get a meal? Want to get some, like, it's a different sense of joy. So my goal has always been like, how do I carry and hold the calm power? How do I continue to put that into the world? Like, how do and I show up like this. I find that there's a lot of people that come around me, and my purpose when I live my life is I want you to leave my vicinity better. If you ever see me on stage when I go speak, I want my time spent with you to land in your heart and for you to walk away better with the time we spend. If you come to my home, if you're with me, I want there to be a conversation, a flow where you feel like you left and like you're better. And the only way I can give you some is if I have something to give. And if I don't work on giving it to myself, I can't give it to you. And if you don't work on giving it to yourself, you can't give it to anybody else. So how do we create this calm? We're going to talk about this. And I think that there's some things we'll talk about that may kind of maybe unsettle some people. I might poke some areas. I might tweak a little strings. I'm going to be honest. That's kind of the purpose of today, right? Is to get you guys to see something you haven't seen so you can work on something you haven't worked on. So as we move forward, here's the thing. I want us to talk about what I call is the multitasking monkey mind. That's why I think we don't get calm. It's the multitasking monkey mind of all the things I got to get done and they got to get done right now. And if I don't get it done right now, someone's gonna be mad. Oh, and it goes crazy. And we spin up and spin up. I met with this one guy and I had this moment where after football, I went, did my thing, came back home and I was building this business. And it was a gym business back in the day. And I wanted to build this business. I wanted to be amazing. And I was everything all in on this business. And I got to this point where I wouldn't say I'm proud of this, but I would be with my kids and I would want to be with my kids. Let me repeat this. I would want to be with my kids. And I'm not proud of this because I was with them. I'd play games, but my brain was somewhere else. My multitasking monkey mind was hopping from branch to branch on with the book and then the course and the program and then write this and read this. And you can do this. And you should go with this person and have this networking with this podcast, build the podcast. Maybe I should make this little image and take this picture. Oh, everywhere. And so when I'm with my kids, I'm not with my kids. And my college coach, I love this. It was big because we were student athletes, college athletes. We're thinking about stuff back in the day. I'm like, I want to get these new shoes and my girl and the game. And he's like, hey, be where you are when you are. And that was really hard for me. And I always have come back to that. But I was with my kids. I wasn't there with them. And I started realizing that I just had this anxiousness to get it all done. And I kept telling people, I just need one more month. I just need 2 more weeks. I just need 1 more year, right? Ever said it before? I'm going to get a hand up if you had it before to somebody else. I just need 1 more month, love. I need 1 more week, love. Give me 1 more year. I got this, right? And what happens is that month, that year, that week goes by and we're not aware of it, but we didn't get that thing done. But guess what? They are 100% aware. They'll let you know, like you said, a month. 2 months ago, why isn't it? What are you doing right now? And what I found was someone gave me this amazing advice. And what they said is, if I was to lock you in a room for 30 days, you would come out of that room. And then just first off, you wouldn't have to sleep. You don't got to eat. You can work 24/7, 30 days. He says you would come out of that room with more to do. Because that multitasking monkey mind, when it gets one thing done, what does it do? Finds a new branch. And more branches, more branches, more branches. So he's like, at the end of the day, you don't need to get to the point of doing all these things. He said you need to figure out what doesn't need to be done. What doesn't need to be done right now? Because you can't be calm inside and have that power if there's always something to do. Football was easy. I had to work out today, go to practice today, read my playbook. I'm good. When I got to this world, I'm like, I got all these things I could do. I want to do all of them right now. And it was all over the place. And the idea is I lost my calm power, because I didn't think about what doesn't need to get done right now. It needs to get off the plate, we'll call it. Have I ever given you guys the dogs in a pen about ideas, the dogs that are in a pen concept? Yay, nay? No? Oh, this is a good one. So I got 2 dogs. They're back there in the house barking right now. And I love dogs. And what I came to find is my ideas, I love my ideas like I love my dogs. They're so amazing and they're cool and they're great. Look at all these cool ideas, right? And they go into my head. And what happens is I realize that sometimes it's like all the ideas, if they're, these dogs, and they're in a pen, a small pen, when they're sleeping, they can fit. Because they're just cool ideas. They're sleeping, no big deal. The dogs are sleeping, no big deal. But what if one dog woke up? What if maybe 2 of 10 dogs woke up? Well, these 2 dogs got nowhere to run, nowhere to play. The other dogs are laying around. And next thing you know, all the dogs wake up. And then what you got? A bunch of crazy dogs jumping around like crazy monkey. All these crazy ideas. And what I found was we have way too many things that are in the back of our head that are all fighting for the space in that pen. And we never take this next step, which is really difficult, is imagine you have these 10 dogs. You love the dogs. Love the dogs. In order for some of these dogs to fit in this pen, some dogs need to be put to sleep. You feel that? Oof. Little head. Yeah, right? That's a thought I have, I'm telling you, it's the same with some of your ideas. Not that your dreams can't prosper and grow, but some ideas don't fit. When I was in college, I had this big idea. It's like, I want to do car stereos when I get out. Because I love car stereos back in the day, because I wanted to be that annoying kid with the bass that would rattle your windshield next door. And I did. I'm dead serious. Listen to this. When I had my graduation party, I was so good with money back then. I got like $1,200 for graduation to go to college. I went to San Jose to the outdoor flea market and I spent $800 on car stereo equipment. My mom was pissed. Like, she's like, I returned all of it. She was livid, but I wanted that, right? I had these ideas. Say that to say, when I was in college, had the same itch. And I was like, you know what? I want to go home. And when I get done with football, I'm going to open a business called Trux's Trunks. Let that settle in a little bit. Trux's Trunks. So you put the subwoofers in the back of the trunk and with the bass, right? So like, here is an idea that doesn't belong in my head, to be quite honest. It's a cool idea, but like, I'm not going to do it. That idea needed to be put to sleep. And so I say that to say some of the ideas you have, you are not calm right now inside because this idea keeps bumping up against the other dogs and it doesn't have room to run around. And it honestly shouldn't be in the pen in the first place. So the thought should be, how do I get this idea out of my head and press it off into the future? Today, we're talking about friendships, and it was cool to be able to be around my friends, man. I have pockets of friends. You guys probably know what that means. Like, I have my professional business, current friends, we'll call it. Then I have like the friends that I've known for 27 years. I have my friend that's my wife. I have all these different amazing friends, right? But there are ways these all navigate and merge together. And so today I want to talk about those, because here is my true belief. I believe that the best and worst part of this world are people, man. It may be debatable, but I feel like the things that I love, people I love the most, like as people, right? And the things that I dislike come from people, unfortunately, or things people do to us. But I don't know if we ever navigate this properly, or we have any idea of the best way to look at what goes on. Because here's what I do know. When I am operating consistently in interaction with my best friends, the people around me, life is enjoyable to levels I cannot explain. Like, it was really, the last few days was so amazing to get to sit in a room with people that just get you and they talk to you in certain ways, and they tell you what you need to hear sometimes, not what you want to hear. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you get to expand and kind of create. And then also, if you want to go to a higher level in your life, you need people around you. You can't do it by yourself. Like, we all think we're self-made and solo. I don't know a single person that has done something without any other human being involved in some capacity. So I want to anchor that as we get into this today, is like, friendships, the reason this whole topic is chosen today is I think it's incredibly paramount to us finding some levels of success in life. So let's rock and roll with this today. First thing, I think one of the most important things when it comes to friendships, there's actually studies based around this, is that it's connection and time while connected. There are actually studies that show that the longer you spend of time with somebody, the closer you get bonded to them. And I think that there's this perception of, if you're just around them, it's just, all of a sudden, if I put a clock on at 60 hours, you're my best friend now. Like, that would be weird. Like, you can't put a clock on something like that. But do keep in mind, you need to be in proximity to certain people for a period of time. So if you're wondering, why don't I have great friendships? Well, ask yourself, are you investing in actually setting up time to hang out with people? People who are introverts, I found, like, they don't like to go out and be around a lot of people and wonder, why don't I have friends? Well, because you want to only be around you. Like, if you want to have great friendships, go and be around people. And what this may look like is some discomfort of setting a lunch date or a dinner date. Maybe you don't go, in a whole group, it's just you and that person, or you go hang out and do something you guys are both interested in, right? Common interest is a big thing with friendships, but you actually have to get to the point of spending time with people. It's a big, big piece there. So if you have an area on the top of your paper right now, say, I got to spend more time with people I want to be friends with. And it might be awkward at first. Maybe it's the soccer mom that you guys bring your kids to and from all the time. You have great conversations while you're at practice or games, but outside of games, you never talk. Well, be the weird person that says, hey, Susan, do you want to go for a coffee in the morning? Sure, let's go. After we drop the kids off, right? Create the moments that create time to create good, deep, bonded friendships. And I promise, you'd be surprised, a lot of people probably need that just as much as you do. So it's not that weird. They're like, oh, I'm so thankful you took me out to tea, because I really been wanting to have a crumpet with you. Tea and crumpets. I don't know anything about them, but I feel like I throw it in there. Anyways, I'm a tea guy. I don't drink coffee, by the way. Now, the next part of this is, when you're with these people, what do you do? Now, a lot of people think if you just hang out, they're going to be friends, everything's great. But I have found that there are individuals who I have been able to spend a little bit less time with, but been very, very deeply connected to them. I used to go to this event years ago, and it would like happen like later in the nighttime, where we would all like to have like kind of a cool little closed down party. And they'd have these very specific areas set aside on the beaches or these cool areas where you could just talk. They facilitated discussion. Now, obviously, time's a big proponent, but what you do in that time matters. And here's what I was able to do. So I'll say, collapse the time to create great friends. There are people that I had known for 3 days that were closer to me than people I'd known for 3 years. And here's why. When I sat with these people, I opened my heart and shared things that literally I'd never shared with anybody before. And what happens at a special moment is it's catharsis. It comes out of me. Like I feel a levity, right? And when you have other human beings that accept and embrace that, don't make fun of you, don't shut things down, they go, oh, I see you. I feel you. And on top of that, they now feel permission to share with you. And you get to that vulnerable, open, really raw spot. That's where connection takes place. Now, when I say we get to do that, like, I'm not just saying you kind of have to do it. You have to do it if you want to bond a relationship. Think about the closest relationship you have. Maybe you're intimate, your wife or your husband, whatever it may be, or your partner in some capacity. Why are they so close to you? They just know a lot about you. They almost know everything. They know when you fart in the bed and they're like, oh, it stinks. They know what, like if your sink's dirty because you don't take the thing and brush your teeth in the little area. They know if like you leave the toilet seat up. They know things about you, right? They're intimately close to you. And so what happens is you have a different space. And so what you have to start thinking about is the reality of when you're creating those deep bonded connections, you have to be able to open up a little bit more you typically would, because if you don't open up, people don't get to know the heart of who you are. And when they get to know the heart of who you are, you start finding there's more of a connection there than people you've known for a lot of years. So if you can find that space to create those areas by actually opening up and sharing more than most human beings would, you find that you get to learn more about their heart. They learn about you and you feel that acceptance. Because friendships have got to be based on an acceptance space. Like the friends that I have, we have real conversations. We open up and talk. I've got friends that I've known since I was in second grade, like a core group of my friends from Jason, Nick, Kevin, Jeff kind of floats around in the circle there, but like second, third grade, we've been friends and we know a lot. We've gone through all the journeys of the ups and the downs. I've supported them through different levels of relationships, different levels of friendships, parenting and kids. We've just been there. So if you think about the time you have to spend with somebody's got to be there, but what you do in that time, in fact, heavily matters. So you got to focus on choosing to spend time and allocating it, but opening up while in that moment with them. Because if you don't do that, you pull punches, you don't share certain things. Well, what ends up happening is you have this disconnected kind of relationship where you're there, but you can't open up. If you can't open up, you don't feel connected. And then the distance gets created. So when you're around someone, you're like, I should be close to this person. I should be around, but I feel bogged down. I feel like I can't really express myself because when I do, they don't accept this, or they don't, or there's an anger that comes back, or like there's an argument that takes place. It's like, no, if you can open up and flow, it gets to be much better. Now, the next piece of this is when you have the right friends in your life, the right friends will tell you, I alluded to it a moment ago, they'll tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. Because if you're honest with yourself, there are a lot of things that you might know are kind of like the depths of going on. But when somebody tells it to you, one of two things takes place. Either one, your ego rears up. You don't like to hear this. So what you do is you get into this argument to defend your ego, to defend your current identity, because you don't want anybody to see you sweat, right? And if you have friends that hear, like when they say something to you and you take it in an abrasive manner, well, what happens is they stop telling you things. They stop sharing things with you. They stop opening up, and now you feel that separation create a space, right? But the reality is you need to be in a place where you can actually hear the things that need to be told to you, not just what you want to hear at times. And it is hard. Some people, like they have this desire to do it, and when somebody tells it to them, like they'll embrace it, and some will take some time to embrace it, but they'll eventually go, you know what? I was wrong. You're right. I get this. And they'll bring it in. And then some people will never do it. Some people will just continue to keep beating their head against the wall, and people look at them and go, man, I keep saying this person just won't listen. And then after a while, you start to feel that person stop telling you things, stop sharing certain things, stop opening up in certain ways. And it creates this space that doesn't need to be there, but it's there because you didn't want to hear what needed to be heard. And so you have to find people in your life that are not the ones that are like just only celebrating and rah, rah, sis, boom, bop. They're actually telling like, hey, I see this. So you might want to work on, and in that space, consider working on it and not have the ego rear up and go, well, the only reason I'm doing it is because you're telling me to. Well, maybe they're telling you and you should do it, even if they're telling you to, if that makes sense. So think about this. And these are some, if you think about it, these are kind of some interesting things that I'm talking about friendship wise. Most people would think like, oh, on a friendship conversation for Growth Day, we should be talking about all the chummy stuff. Well, this creates the chummy moments. This creates those non-elephant in the room moments when you're able to talk about these very specific things. And then here's the other piece that has to take place when it comes to a friendship. The friendships that I have, no one keeps score. The best friendships I have, no one's keeping score on who did what and how we did this and how it took place. It's never a scorekeeping situation. In fact, the reality is if I want to get something from this individual, from this human, I got to give. And you got to give without expecting a return. You got to do certain things that show up in a certain way where you're not expecting some return that has to be there. So what it ends up being is I'm giving openly, I'm sharing openly, I'm doing certain things this person needs, this person I care about, this person I love. I'm doing the things without keeping score, without telling them all the things I'm doing. I just do them. And what happens is you find that in that pattern, that process, people eventually get to the role of starting to give you back what you need. Today, we're going to talk about the way that I look at mindset and resilience. So here's the big thing. Our mindset is included within who we are and our identity. And I'm going to extract for you guys something that I talk and walk through called the Slower Go Identity Grid. And the Slower Go Grid's going to let you see in a simple way, like where you stand right now. Some of you might have heard it before. Maybe you've taken the quiz. Maybe you've not. And hopefully you haven't all heard of it, because that'd be kind of like, oh, I'm going to do the same thing. But I promise, even if you have, I'll give you a little bit more depth to it. So here's what I want you to grasp. We all have the clear understanding of what a mindset is. However, sometimes we may not understand the inner workings of it or who we are with it. And so we're going to break this down today. I'm going to show you how you are essentially one of 4 different kinds of identities harboring certain mindsets. Now, as I tell you this, I want you to grasp, it doesn't really mean that if you see one that's like not perfect, you say like, oh, it sounds like me. It's not the end of the world. That's the beautiful part about who we are. We can always adjust and grow and change, right? We have neuroplasticity in our brains. We can learn new things. Yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks, no matter what they say. There's a Netflix show I saw about it, just so you know, like really, you can actually teach an old dog new tricks. But we're going to actually teach you guys some cool things. So let's get into this without me talking about it all day. We're going to go over this. Now, in our lives, we always have these different aspects of opportunity and opposition. And to be quite honest, they have this intersection point. They always meet each other if you think about it. There's always this opportunity of something, but there's always like but it ain't perfect, right? And I find that as we go through things, we're always trying to figure out like, okay, where do we stand? What do we do? And how do we make the next moments of our lives better? However, how we show up in those moments, those defining moments, those will determine how the next moments are better or not. And so now I'm going to talk you through 4 different types of mental framings and identities that have mindsets to them, right? Of how I think. And I want you to figure out which one you are. So the first one we're going to talk about is a dreamer. Now, think about opportunity and opposition. Now, if I'm a person that when opportunity comes to pass and I sit there and I look at it and I go, oh, it'd be amazing to chase the opportunity, but I go, oh, I don't know if I should, and maybe I can, and I stew on it for too long. What happens to opportunity? It leaves. When I was in college, my college coach, he says, hey, if our opportunity comes knocking at your door, you better open the door, pull him inside, sit him down, get him dinner, make him stay a while. Because if he leaves, we don't know when he's coming back around again. And so the idea is like when opportunity comes, how do you handle it? And some people, we get so apprehensive, we get so processing, we get to the point of just paralyzation by overanalyzation that we don't take opportunity and actually capitalize on it. And at the same time, these same people, they're not really good in opposition. Like when something pops up and rears its head, we question ourselves. My mindset goes, I don't know if I can, if I'm capable, if I'm smart enough. And so what ends up happening is I go, oh, I don't know. And then I end up moving myself back. I find ways to reverse my path. I will make excuses. I will procrastinate. I'll call myself a perfectionist. I'll say, I'm a perfectionist. No, you're just scared of putting it out there. Let's be honest, right? There's this aspect of like the opposition. It makes me feel scared. So what do? I'm always telling people about my dreams. I'm dreaming about this. I'm going to do this. I can do this. I can create this. And an opportunity comes. I go, why didn't you take advantage of it? Oh, well, this happened and I didn't have enough time and I was too busy, or, I didn't know much about it, or you make excuses. And no matter what the excuse, good or bad, it still is an excuse that's stopping you from getting what you want. So that's the first one, a dreamer, someone who doesn't go into the space of taking on opportunity because they're fearful, and those who are not good at tackling opposition. Now, the next person is called a dabbler. A dabbler is someone that says, look, when an opportunity comes up, I'm taking it. Yeah, put me in, coach, buy all the Dogecoin and the different Bitcoin thing. I'm buying all of it. Let me go do it, right? And then maybe it's not that, but maybe it's opportunities that come rise and they go after them full speed. They invest in these things. They buy these things. They go and start these processes. They do stuff, but here's what happens. The moment opposition comes, they shut down. It's too hard. I don't know how to do this. I'm a little bit fearful. I'm scared. And what I do is I pull myself away. I may have started down that path. The moment it got hard, I stopped my progress and I stayed stagnant or went backwards. This happens for a lot of people. They try I want to do live streams and I want to do webinars and I want to write this book. And then I go, it's opportunity to do something. And all of a sudden it gets hard. And I go, oh, I don't want to do this. I pull away. And these are what we call the dabblers or shiny object people. Sound familiar? A little bit, maybe. You might even be able to say, that sounds like me. I try things a lot. I'm excited about new things. And people are like, they're around my life. They'll maybe consistently see I'm always excited about something new. Every week it's something new with you, Karen and Susan and Nick and Sean and Sherry. It's always something new with you. Yeah, it is something new because you're a dabbler. Now, again, not the end of the world, but at least maybe you know who you are. And we'll talk about how to be able to make these shifts quickly, the mindset and the identity. The next one, the defender. Now, they, in the past, have taken some opportunities because we don't take no opportunities, right? We have taken some opportunities. And then what happens is I step forward and I go, look, I'm gonna have some success. I've had some success and I'm really good at tackling opposition. If it rears its head, I'm shutting it down. I'm gonna knock it out. I got this covered. However, if a new opportunity comes to pass, I'm very, very apprehensive because it could take away from my current success. This is the undefeated boxer. The person who's always had a great business, never lost a client. These people, they will not take opportunity because what if it sullies up what I've got? And so what they do is they live a stagnant, boxed in life. BRENDON would call it partly the caged life, right? Because now what happens is I've had this success and I don't want any of this to go away. So I don't want anything to come in and possibly mess this up or make me look bad. So I don't want to be embarrassed. So I don't take advantage of new opportunities. But if you, lo and behold, if you ever decide to take away what I already got, I'm fighting you for it. Don't you dare say I'm not this or not this or not this. I'll fight to hold my space, but I won't fight for more, right? There's a difference, there's a separation. And so that's a defender. They hold their ground, they stay their pace, and they watch life, unfortunately, pass them by. And it sucks. I know people like this. They're like, no, I got this. I don't want to do anything. I'm like, oh, but you could have done this, and I'm happy. Yeah, but there's always a level of happy above the level you're at now if you choose to seek opportunities. Now, the fourth one, which is the one that I have a belief that a fair majority of you 100% have to have a piece of at times. And just keep in mind, we have multiple identities and mindsets that sit in different spaces. So if you happen to be one of these, you can be like, hey, I'm a dabbler. You may not be a dabbler everywhere. You might be a dabbler in work. You might be a defender in relationship. I would hope that you are, because a defender in relationship means you're great in the one you're at. You don't want to seek more opportunities. You know what I mean? Like that's not a good thing. Don't do that. But you might also be a dreamer in the aspect of hobbies. Like, I want to go be a skydiving coach. No, I don't. But that could be a dreaming idea, right? You see what I'm saying? Multiple identities. So I believe in your personal growth, a lot of you guys fit into this space right here. It's called a doer. So a doer is someone that says, look, I love opportunity. I seek it out. I want to find out what's new. I want to read the books. I want to get into the programs. I want to join GrowthDay. I want to do it all. I want to try it all. And here's why. Because you know that if you chase down an opportunity, inevitably there will be opposition. But within the opposition, you have the ability and you know you'll take it on. You'll go fight hard. So you're like, I'm taking it on because I know if I go in this opportunity, I'm going to keep going because I handle opposition well. And then you know that if you face opposition, it's okay because here's the truth. What high performers and growth dayers, I know you guys know this. If you are a person that can handle opposition, you know that opposition, when overcome, creates new opportunities. Every time. I don't care who you are, but if you have a problem and you solve it, you have a new set of tools, which means a new opportunity has placed itself in your life. It's literally how it all, I tell people that when you're in the realm of like what I do, coaching, my job is to create new problems for you. What do you mean, Anthony? Well, if I solve the problem and help you be happier, more joyous, maybe make some more money, well, now you have a new problem of, okay, what do I do with my taxes? What do I buy? What do I invest? You know what I'm saying? It is new problems. Interesting way to look at it. But those who are doers, they will go after opportunity or go after opposition because they know it actually benefits synergistically. Now, there's different levels of doers. In my experience, we don't like hanging out with dreamers. I don't want to know what you're going to do. I want to know what you've done. And it's not a bad thing at the end of the world, but just be aware of this. Welcome to my world, people. So this is This is going to be fun. I probably have maybe one framework today, but I believe that something with relationship, because it's such an intimate tie to our humanity, that stories I can tell you will resonate better. And I hope that within the stories, you see yourself as one of the characters or the people or the individuals involved. And in that process, you can extract something and go, oh, okay, I get it. So I'm going to take you back into time. So it's 2000. I was hanging with my buddy Vinny, because my buddy Vinny's a professional skater back, and I was in high school. It's, the cool kids hang out with the cool guys, and he's a professional skater. And then there was this one time I went with my buddy Byron, who introduced me to Vinny. We went to this weird court to hang out. Now, this is Antioch. This is back in my hometown. I'm like 16, 17. And I'm just going to tell you guys, I was not the most savory character. I wasn't even saved at this time. Wasn't doing crazy stuff. But I remember, like, we pulled up into this weird court, and my buddy Byron had this jug. You guys ever seen a gallon jug of Carlo Rossi wine? He had this gallon jug. He used to walk around downtown Antioch with it. Oh my gosh. And he was like 16. I don't even know how he got it. And anyways, we end up in this court, and my buddy Byron introduces me to this girl. And it's the only girl that's there. Her name's Christina. She goes to the same high school. I don't really know her, but like, I just meet her and talk, and no big deal. Well, for the ensuing months, we end up hanging out a lot. We end up, we're in the same friend group. We get to know each other. At one point, my buddy Christian was like dating her, and then he wasn't dating her, and then like still in the same friend group. And then I don't know, fast forward, at some point, we're hanging out at my buddy Vinny's house, we talked about, and I probably had a couple sips of that Carlo Rossi wine, we'll call it. And so I'm sitting there. I remember I was on the couch, and this girl comes up. We start talking and chatting. It's Christine. And next thing you know, like we kissed a little bit on the couch. We'll leave it at that. That's literally all it went. We just kissed on the couch. We're little kids. Don't do dumb stuff. And fast forward, like a year later, I don't know how it happens, but we're dating. Like we're dating. This is like my girlfriend. And I, growing up in foster care, have this weird tie to like the female in my life, so much so that at the end of the day, like the woman that's closest to me is really close to me. Like it's an attachment to my heart. I think there's just some space, and it holds itself because my biological mom, she just was distant. So I've always desired to have that kind of female presence in my life. And when it's there, like I'm locked in. And so like this girl at 18 years old, 2 years after that night on the couch, we'll call it, I was sitting there, and I was in a car with her. Now, this is the thing that I realized. In high school, I wasn't the most academically sound person. In fact, my family, we didn't really do academics. I was one of 6. We were really poor. My mom and dad, they didn't graduate from the high school, I don't believe. My siblings, of all of us, I'm one of 6. I'm the only one who actually graduated from the high school, not continuation, not GED. And here's why. I had an opportunity to play college football, and I wasn't academically ready for it. But this girl I befriended, I was dating, was like a 4.1 GPA. So I'm that kid that her mom and dad are like, why are you hanging out with this athlete who gets bad grades in sports? She was like, he's a good kid, I promise. And I was a good kid. So we're sitting there, and like we would go every night back to her house, and she would help me do calculus. Like, or was it calculus? No, stats. It might have been stats in high school or something. I had to figure out how to get my math stuff done, because I did not know, and I was like a year behind. But if I got it dialed in and I got a better grade, I had a chance at a scholarship to go play football. So every night we would go through homework, and she seriously would sit there and like walk me through this stuff. And eventually I got a better grade. I get an opportunity to go play college football at University of Oregon, probably solely because she sat down and taught me how to study, taught me how to learn, taught me how to get better grades. So I go to college, we do the long distance thing. It doesn't work for me. I'm not really enjoying the distance, but I'm locked into her so much so, like, I don't talk to women. I don't do anything. In fact, at 18 years old, when she came up to visit me for a game, I proposed to this girl at 18 years old. So fast forward 9 months, I'm doing long distance. We don't like it. She's like, you know what? I found out your college, Oregon, has the degree that I want. I'm at UC Davis. I hate it here. And so we end up progressing into this thing where it's like, maybe you come up here. Yes, Nancy, go Ducks. It's like, maybe you come up here and go to school. Her family's like, I don't know. Do you really need to go up there to go to school? She's like, it's a great school, #2 in the country for this. And so she makes a choice. Her family says, just don't get pregnant. Go up there, don't get pregnant, take care of school, be focused, good to go. I have a 16-year-old son. So about 6 months after she got up there, we got pregnant. Oh man, don't do this. Don't tell your kids to do this either. Not a good recommendation. So fast forward a couple of years, I go to the NFL. I'm in the NFL. She's back home taking care of our son, and she's a trooper. She graduates with a 4.2 GPA, summa cum laude, with her master's in special education. The chick's a beast. The actual quarter that she had our son, she still got a 4.0. monstrous. And we're away from home. We're in college in Oregon. We're from California. So like, she's just, you get it. She's dope. So we're living this life, doing this thing. And I go to the NFL and we're doing the distance thing in the NFL. Ups and downs is tough, you know, because I'm gone like 7 of 10 months. Typically, I'm not really home that often, but we go back and forth. We communicate when we can. She's pretty much a single mom at home with me sending paychecks home. And it gets to the point where like I eventually NFL ends because NFL stands for not for long, in case you didn't know. Now, here's where the story gets to the point of why we're talking about it today, my friends. And I'm going to give you the good goods that are not that good. So I'm sitting here in these moments, you know, I come back from the NFL. I have a massive identity crisis. I don't know who I am. I've lost the sense of self as Anthony. And I'm sitting here in this moment. I'm going, who am I without football? And so I neglect the rest of my life. I've talked about the fruit of the labor, right? The fruit of my labor was football. And that one piece of fruit I was focused on, and I lost sight of the fact that I was a tree. And so what happened is I didn't give the nutrients to the tree. I didn't take care of the other branches on the tree. I didn't take care of the rest of the fruit. So when I'm focused on football getting lost, my business is failing. My marriage is failing. I'm not a present father. I'm getting out of shape. And I get to the point where I eventually have the situation where like I'm completely separate from my wife at this point. We were tight. I mean, so close. We knew everything, felt everything. And then it was like a stranger almost. And it got to the point where I'm in Hawaii and we're on this vacation. And I ended up finding on her phone that she'd been texting somebody else. And the somebody else was another guy. And come to find out that my wife, the one I'd known since 16 years old, is having an affair. And I'm not going to go emotionally back there with you, but just know it hurts. Because if you've ever experienced that, it's painful. It's a different depth of pain. And it's also, I don't know if it's different for me because like, that's my world. Like this was my family. This is my wife. This is, you know, and we also had twins. So at this time we had 2 more kids. We had 3 kids and my world is now coming tumbling down. And I get to this point where we're going to tell you the truth, man. Got to the point where I wasn't a present father. I wasn't playing football. My marriage was on the outs. My family was falling apart, and being a foster kid, not having a family, like when I had it, being ripped away was probably the depth of pain that I can't put into words. And I remember feeling like I don't want to be here. Like if this is going to be life after the game, it's what I got to experience. Like, I'm cool off this. I don't want this to be my work. I don't want to be here. And now thankfully I didn't do anything to take my life, but like that was a very clear and present thought for a moment. So for what I call the next like 6 years, I had what was called the fog. The fog is that time when you get up and you have no idea what to do that day. This fog lasted from 2012 until 2016. It was a tough one. Because we had the whole situation of like in 2010, the divorce was finalized in 2012. So I was like separate from like 2011, like 2016. And here's what took place in 2016. And I'm going to tell you this as the truth, the aspects of Anthony, you got to know him. Because if you get to know me, you got to realize like I'm not proud of these moments, but these are moments that give you a sense of my humanity. So like when you are with somebody for so long, you want to be with somebody. And so I found myself for the first time in my life having multiple partners. Like I'd have women I would talk to, and I was always respectful and kind of like, hey, I'm not trying to be in a relationship. But to be honest, like I would give of myself and it would drain me and I had nothing and I felt empty and I felt shameful. Like there was a day where I woke up on January 1st, 2016, and I was laying next to a strange woman from Russia, of all places, who had come because I went out and gave a speech there. And I went into the bathroom and I looked myself in the mirror and I had this wave of like hate, shame for the man looking back at me. Like, I don't know if you've ever been here, but the relationship we have like with ourselves is one that's difficult and it's hard if you don't like being alone with yourself. I had this reality that I am the common denominator in all of my problems. And in fact, the common denominator in all my relationships. Now, the relationships that I'm going to talk about, there's going to be different ones. There's one with, I'm telling you, my intimate relationship with my wife. There's the relationship with as a parent. I wasn't a present parent. I would find ways to miss, baseball and soccer and football games because, well, I'm busy or I'm traveling somewhere. I got this going on, or I book clients. I would book clients because, to be honest, I didn't want to have to go to the game and feel the shame of me knowing I hadn't gone to the previous game, or have to possibly find her with the next boyfriend that she's with and have to see some man holding my daughter's hand walking down the game, like these little things that happen. And so I would find myself not being a present father. My relationship with my clients was interesting because my focus wasn't on how to be a great trainer. It was like, how do I find the next girl to hang out with? You know what I mean? Like that's the energy is in different places. And so because I wasn't centered with the relationship of Anthony, none of the relationships navigated themselves well. They all came tumbling down, we'll call it. And I woke up in this January timeframe, and I finally had this realization of, dude, you got to do something to figure yourself out. And I did. I did something that I think everybody at some point in time, if you've been in those funky places, you need to do. And it led to me having some positive pieces. But here's the first thing I did. I asked myself all the questions I did not want answers to. For example, Anthony, why aren't you a good father? Anthony, what was your role in that marriage falling apart? Anthony, how come you're not showing up in the business? All these things. Anthony, why are you out of shape, man? Why? I used to have a gym, and I would cover my belly with the sweatshirts with the logo of the gym, so I would have to show it. It was baggy clothes. I could hide the belly. I worked and trained in a gym all day, yet I did not look like it. You know what I mean? And it was this thing where I had this interesting internal conversation always running, and I never wanted to deal with the conversation. So I did is I went internal. I finally asked these questions, and it provided answers I did not want to hear, to be quite honest. For me, family is a humongous anchor. I'm not going to give my whole story, but I grew up in foster care. I got adopted at a young age, or like 14 years old. And then I had this really interesting base of not having my family. And so when I got older and I could have my family, it's been this anchorage to me. And I always wanted to give my kids something better than I had. I didn't have mom in the household. I didn't have dad in the household. So for me, the fact that I get to wake up and my real kids are in my home it's seriously every day. I'm like, it's super cool. And so while it sounds odd, it's not. Just enjoy it. I'm just going to talk you guys through some points that I have found in my journey to be things that have helped me become a better parent. Now, I became a dad at 19 years old. My oldest son just turned 17. In fact, last Thursday got his letter back from the University of Oregon of acceptance. So the school that I went and played football at, my son now has an opportunity to go run track at, which is Tracktown, USA. Hey, yo, super excited to get that one. He still has to get in for track, but academically he's sound. But man, I pretty much went from being like a high school kid to dad. I was telling somebody just yesterday, I'm like, man, I can't recall time without being a dad after high school. It's like I was a kid, I graduated high school, go to college. Oh, I'm a dad right now. And I've been a dad ever since. Now, here's the interesting thing. I've never not loved being a father. Now, I don't know if you have kids at all, or maybe you want to have kids. There's always been this anchor to me of I love being a dad. When I found out that I was going to be dad, I was standing in the locker room. My fiance at the time had called and said, hey, I'm late. I went to Planned Parenthood. We're pregnant. And from that moment, I was like, yeah, I get to give back to a life in a way that wasn't given to me. Now, that being said, have I been a perfect parent? Absolutely not. I am sure I have jacked my kids up. I'm sure of it, because they're different humans with different ways to do things. But some of the things that I've learned through this journey of not just me navigating being a kid, having a kid, but also growing up and looking back and going, man, what would I have done different? What do I do now different than I did 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Because I also have 12-year-old twins that are same, I guess, kind of people, but vastly different. So I'm going to walk you through points I have today. I'm going to share with you my perspectives. Now, that being said, I'm going to give you this kind of precursor. Some of the things I share are not going to sit perfectly, I'm sure, because we're all different. I do not believe there is a right or a wrong way to parent. I think that there are different ways to do different things. And I don't care what happens. You could be on your page a perfect parent, but because your kid is different, man, you may not fit with that kind of parenting style. What they need is a parenting style. So the idea is if you kind of listen to these things, you may hear some stuff that goes, it doesn't fit with me. And that's okay. I'm not going to go and put a torch in the ground and say, I'm sticking to this. You better do. No, I'm just giving you some thoughts and ideas. So without further ado, let's pop into this. First things first, you do not want to slave away so your kids can have everything. Now, you can write these out if you want. You don't have to. Here's what I mean. I find that in my area, in most suburban areas, in most areas, people go, I got to work real hard. I'm a slave away so my kid can do whatever they want to do in life. And to an extent, I get this. You want to be able to fund your kids' dreams and create what you want to create for your kids. But I've found in my journey, in my life, that I've watched people, and I've watched multiple generations where that was the dad's mentality. I'm going to go to work. I'm a slave away. I'm going to do my thing. I'm not going to chase my expressive dream. So I give my kids the hope and opportunity to go do more. Now, while you have the KDs of the world, right? The people who are like, my mom worked 2 jobs and wouldn't play basketball professionally. Majority of people I've found do this. They go and watch mom and dad slave away, do their job, and they think that's the way to do it because they're mimicking what they've watched somebody do. They watch them have these jobs and fight and battle with money and all these kind of things. So what happens is they do what they've naturally seen. So what I've found is in my journey, I said, you know what? I want to change that. I don't want to do something just to do it so my kids have money, so they can go to school, or they can eat, because I can find a way to feed them and take them to do what they want while also chasing a passion. So my kids go, holy crap, That's actually possible. Like my kids have watched me on national television climb a wall on American Ninja Warrior. That is not something every kid can say they saw, but I in my heart of hearts believe because of that, my kids see things as possible outside of the norm. That I believe is how you give your kids a different perspective. You're going to get them to do what they want by showing you doing what you want. So the idea is like, show them how to live with passion, show them how to chase a dream. Don't be a detriment to their life. Don't push them away. We'll talk about that. But the idea is you have to live in a space beyond what your current comfortable space is if you want your kids to. So the best way to love them in a way, in my opinion, to go chase a big, huge dream is to go and chase a big, huge dream. Let them watch you stumble and fall. My kids have watched me stumble and fall and do dumb stuff. But they've also seen me be on stages and share and teach and talk. And when I'm in public, they go, man, like they see people walk up and go, hey, thanks for what you did. So that, I believe, puts a different seed in their heart. That's the first of many. Number two, do not rob your kids of their hardships. Repeating this one because you need to hear it. Do not rob your kids of their hardships. My kid, Tiz, he's oldest son. His name's Anthony. We have a nickname of Tiz. Not going to tell you why it's his nickname, but there was a time back in middle school when he was getting picked on after school. And so he calls my wife, like, there's this kid picking on me. My wife gets in a car, shoots down, doesn't tell me. And she's out there yelling at this kid. And I go, what happened? She goes, well, this kid was, picking on him. So I wasn't going to let him, do it to my son. Right. It's right. Mama bear. I totally get it. Totally get this. But here's what took place. She got down there. My kid never had the ability to manage this situation on his own. Now, I'm not saying that he should have been getting picked on, but I am saying I would have loved to have that conversation at home after the fact when that emotion sets into my son to talk about how do we navigate these moments, because that hardship was robbed from him. He didn't have the ability to build the muscle so that he could say the right thing, handle himself, avoid the situation properly because mom came and saved the day. Now, it's okay for you as a parent to save your kids. Totally get that. But there's got to be a line, a demarcation line where you go, you know what? I'm going to let my kids struggle, especially if you have the means to support your kids so they don't struggle with finances or food or a house to stay in, right? If you have the basics and foundation, well, how are they going to have the grit to get past the hard parts of life later on if they don't develop that now in your tutelage? So you can't rob your kids of these hardships they have. So I told my son, this is a one you maybe you agree with and don't. I am not a proponent of ever instigating a fight. My kids, I tell them, you do not ever put your hands on people in any way. However, if somebody puts their hands on you, you better defend yourself. You've got it, because if not, they'll do it again and again and again. So I said, if they touch you, physically touch you, you end it by taking care of this fight and the next 100 by going like a Tasmanian devil. You go crazy. I just don't hurt them and hit them, but you got to handle yourself. So a couple of days later, I'd had a conversation with my son about, look, if this kid gets in your face, just leave, man, walk away. But if he touches you, you've been doing jujitsu, man. Jujitsu his face, whatever. And so next thing I know, I get a call 2 days later. And my son got in trouble because he went to the office because this kid was pushing him around, physically pushing him. So next, this kid's in a neck hold on the ground. And the teacher comes, gets him off, and I go to the school. I say what took place. He told me what happened. I said, to understand it, I'll have a talk with my son. We had that talk at Baskin Robbins. Now, the reason we had it at Baskin Robbins, because I'm like, great, son. Now, guess what? That kid never bothered him again. In fact, the kid ended up becoming a buddy later on, weirdly, because, well, now this kid had some level of like respect for my son. So the idea is you can't rob the kids of their hardship, because when they develop the skill sets to manage their life, now they get to this point of being the strong human being you want them to be. So don't take all the hardship away. Let them experience it and then help them understand how to navigate it better next time. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're going to talk about the workers today and who closes the year strong. So as you guys have met, I know I'm a former NFL athlete. And so for me, I've played a lot of different seasons. I've done a lot of different stuff. I'm obviously, any sports fans, hands, I can see anybody sports fans in here. Isn't it cool, like, if you have a team and they've been playing, like, they started so, they had a slump mid-year, and then all of a sudden at the end of the year, they pick it up. And next thing you know, they go off and win like championships. Anybody seen that happen before? Like, it's cool, and like the whole ride is experience. It's like a whole great feeling. And I just, like, there's something special about that. And I realized that is what a lot of us miss for our lives. We miss that the back of the year, like the year started strong, let's go, hey. And all of a sudden we get going and we kind of get into that flow. We have some wins, we have some losses, but at the end of the year, we kind of just like, let's wait for the beginning of next season, next year, right? What if your team did that? If your team went, say, hey, at the end of the year, let's just wait for next season, you would hate that team. Like, I'm not with those guys, right? So we shouldn't do it for our lives. We should focus on how do we create a new momentum leading into next year to build up. Because here's what I do know. We are primed more than ever now to have such great opportunities in this world, because if you guys have noticed the world, like it's kind of a little bit on shaky ground. And we feel unsettled sometimes. And so if we can lead in and go, hey, I'm ready to take over, it's a matter of you coming and being the stability you seek in this world. That's the thing. Can you create and be the stability you seek? So next year going forward, you have control. You're not like a leaf in the wind like we've sometimes felt in this world. So I'm going to today walk you through what for the last few years I've actually done. And I sat back and I was like, what do I do? Because I have a weird little process I've never actually titled or named, but I just do every year. Because I actually look at the end of the year and go, hey, my body naturally goes, it's October, it's November, it's December. Let me go ahead and drink some more. Let me have a little more food. Let me just hang out. I'm going to bundle up because it gets cold. And then next thing I know, it's like, oh, it's January and I'm more fat than I probably should be. Actually, last year, this time I started gaining weight. So by the end, December 31st of last year, I was 250 pounds. And I typically sit at 220. Like on 3 months, added 10 pounds per month. Like I wanted to set a record for some reason. So I know what this is like when I just let things go. And last year, I'm like, never again, Anthony. So I'm going to tell you what I've been doing and what I stopped doing, and also what I will do for the rest of my life ongoing. I'm not going to lie, though. It's kind of cool to sit around and not work out and drink bottles of wine. It's just, isn't it sometimes like you need that? You need that a little bit. I got some head nods. So let's go into this. So I've titled this the R7 system. Let's hop into this. The first R is what I call review. And here's what I mean by review: a very hard look. Now, the hard look is not always easy to take. And to be quite honest, it's sometimes a little bit scary, because I want you to take a look at your life, which you've been doing this entire year. And I want you to take a very hard look and go, hey, what have I been doing that hasn't been serving the vision, the dream, the mission of where I'm supposed to go? Because you set this intention at the beginning of the year. You said, I'm going to go here. It's going to be my life. I'm going to create this thing. And then somewhere along the line, if you're doing great, phenomenal. Take a look at what you can improve upon. But if you're not where you wanted to be, what did I do that wasn't great? Where did I slow down? And honestly, if you have a planner, go take a look at your planner and see where you wrote things in that didn't get accomplished, or where you wrote things and if you go back and look, you go, yeah, that was a waste of my time. Because if we don't review, it's that whole process of, if you don't look at history, you're doomed to repeat it. So every time I complete one of my planners, I actually go back and I thumb through and I go, man, what did I have to do in my mind at the time, but not really have to do in real life, right? So review. And if you can't see something, here's what I do. I sit back and I ask people, hey, taking a look at what's going on in my life, what should I adjust or change? Like, you could actually outsource this to other people. It's seriously something you could ask your wife, because sometimes your wife or your husband are really good at telling you what you wasted time on, right? Because like you were talking about doing that thing and you didn't get that thing done. So the big thing first are review. And it should be something you go pretty deep on, because I want you to be able to pull out areas where you can see that you shouldn't have done things, and areas where you could have done better, been more precise, been more productive, been more focused. You could have been a high performer at a higher level, right? Review. The second R, reframe. Now, this is an interesting one, because what we sometimes do is we look at these areas, and what we end up having internally is this level of guilt, this level of maybe a little bit of disdain, or maybe a little bit of like shame, or we're self-deprecating, like, oh, you dropped the ball, you suck. Look what you wasted time, Anthony. What was wrong with you, right? And what I do in that moment is I don't actually reframe, which is big, to extract new information. Because the reframes, what a lot of us are missing, I find. It's not so much that you tried something and you didn't work out and you walk away. It's like, no, you tried something and didn't work out. Why? And what's the silver lining? Maybe you tried an effort towards something in a new social adventure you're trying to do, and you created some stuff and it didn't pan out, and you go, oh, I just suck at video. No. Maybe you don't suck at video. Maybe you could have adjusted how you spoke about something, the way you opened with the first 3 seconds of your hook, maybe how the video was framed, maybe the topic itself didn't resonate with your people. Let's reframe what we gathered from this moment. Because if you review it and everything's bad and we feel bad, it's hard to press into the rest of the whole year and finish strong if the energy starts negatively. You ever try to do that? Like to start like a new motion with like negative emotion? It's hard to create momentum, right? It's hard to get that going if I feel, so the big thing is to reframe. And this is 100% where I go, hey, I had this take place. I noticed it didn't serve me, wasn't perfect. Let me go back and see, how can I see this from a new perspective? Because I believe this: perspective precedes enlightenment. The aha moment, right? A new perspective on a singular situation. If I can get a new perspective, I can go, oh, I didn't notice that. Okay, now that I see that, here's a new lesson, a new takeaway that I can use and apply going into the rest of the year. So when I get to these times of the year, I actually do typically sit back and go, okay, starting into the next year or into this year, what happened? What am I not seeing? What am I not noticing? Like, what are we not finding out or paying attention to? And then what happens is I can get to my wit's end. I'll get to my level of what I can see. And here's where I definitively want you to do this. And it's going to sound odd, but if you do this today, it'll be a game changer. I want you to text or call a person who is close to you, who kind of knows your vision and dream. And I want you to share, say, hey, I took a hard look at my life and what I've been doing the last 7, 8, 9 months. And I noticed some things I haven't been doing, or some things I tried that didn't work out. Can you hop on the phone with me, or can you share with me, what are some things of opportunity I'm not seeing? Where is there a positive that I'm not seeing in this situation? And obviously get your more optimistic minded friends, right? Hit your Growth Day community up. Like, hey, people, this took place. Because some people are just pessimistic and their life's not great. So like, everything sucks. There's no positive. You don't want those people, by the way. Find the people that are joyous, right? So ask them, hey, what can I not see? And it might be a phone call. It might be engaged in this community going, hey, you want to hop on a phone call real quick? I want to run some things by you. This took place. What am I not seeing, right? Because if you can reframe the moment, you can go, oh, I didn't notice that. Okay, now let me try this new thing. I'll try it this way next time. I get more hope. I get more energy. And now when you lead into the rest of the year, you actually have more of this positive emotion. There's not this drain or this disdain or this anguish of like, oh man, it's all bad. No. I'm like, hey, opportunity, hope, joy. It's big.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.